Hello, Team Fortress 2, and you're watching Critscast. So, what's going on?
No, that's not what the show is
That's
called.
not the right one!
Uh-oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Swishcast, the only Team Fortress 2 podcast ever. The only good
the
one,
only
anyway.
one. The only one ever. That's ever
That is
existed,
true.
ever. We're actually the first TF2 podcast. Fun fact.
That is true. I got Eric Fullerton to sign over the deed. So today, my name is Indy. I'm joined by my co-host on
Just
the right,
today.
Party
Just
PUBG.
today. It's not going to be your name after this. It's just for
No,
today.
I'm throwing it away after this. I can't be seen with this name anymore.
It explains a lot.
My co-host Party Pug TV, say hello.
Hi guys, what's going on?
And there's the third one. No one.
Yeah, boy!
The third one, who's quit TF2 forever.
the third Mario brother.
The voted by you sexiest member of Swishcast.
Shut up, man. You just voted. You pinged your server.
Mate, you're just you're washed. You're washed.
You pinged
baby,
you
alright?
literally
Pack
pinged
it
your
up.
Discord to vote for you.
Pack it up. Just because you were voted last, okay?
I
Pack
was
it
not
up.
voted last. I was tied with Indy.
Nah, you were last. Pack it up.
Well, we all know who's the real sexiest member.
Me.
It's him.
I was gonna say
I don't-
Kashu, but you know what? You guys win.
Oh, that is kind of true.
Oh yeah, that is
She
true.
was a baddie.
All right. We also have guests this time.
Ah.
So,
Wow. Yeah, thank you for the very warm welcome.
Oh yeah, we got two guests.
They're such a handful. We got the epic of Critscast fame. What's his name again? Aggro? What's up, Aggro? Say hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Swishcast, the second best Team Fortress 2 podcast.
Wait,
After the other three.
you did Critscast. I actually used to listen to that.
Yeah. I used to watch your show as well.
Well, our show's still going.
Oh,
Is it
Aggro,
though?
you were so good back then.
Oh, back in the day, back when people cared, back when
Back
Team
when
Fortress
it
2
was
was a
alive.
real game. Yeah.
And we also
Anyway,
got a
I'm not
competitive
alone.
commentator called Reflex. What's up? Reflex?
Whoa, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having me.
All right, okay. Soldier has just bombed the mid. Okay, what do you say?
First of all, I don't commentate sixes.
Okay, so immediate flop, right?
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Surely there's still soldiers fucking, you know, in
Yeah,
There's
but
no
what-
mid in fucking Highlander though. Like
There
they
might
never
be.
played 5CP. Thing is, Highlander
well, you
players
could
are
say
allergic.
all of Highlander is mid.
Highlander players are allergic to new change, man. Like we can never play anything new. It's just the Prem players they start whining and complaining and
Yeah, but what,
So
what's
blowing
I
their
heard
diaper.
some logic about this once, and I used to be like really miffed by the fact that when I was outside of competitive, and I kind of still am, when I was outside of competitive looking in, I was always like, why are they always playing the same maps? Why season on seasons they play the same maps? Why do they always play the same classes? Why do they do this? Why do they... and the reality of it is that the players themselves want to be able to, like this season's competitive players want to be able to compare their performance to last season's and the season before and the season before, going back all the years that Team Fortress 2 has been in competitive like esports. They want to be able to say not only that they are the best now, but they are better than whoever was good, like Cadus or whatever, or Bytes going back in the day, all those many decade now years ago. If they can get to mid faster than those guys could, then they're better.
of course,
and
of
that's what it's all about. It's all about like not just defeating your opponents on the field, but actually proving to the world that you as a player are significantly better than the generations came before you.
I never thought of that before, actually.
I'm
That's
actually the
very
best
interesting.
player in Team Fortress 2 history.
What was the question?
I don't know. Have we started? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. You don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so Sam, you have 10 years of competitive experience under your belt. What do you have to weigh in?
I think it was 2. And I
10 years ago.
received a silver ETF2L open medal and a
Ooh,
participation open
Rhodes
medal.
bronze
so,
rank and he's flexing.
What,
like-
sixes or Highlander?
Highlander.
That's okay,
So. No,
Wow.
so our team was absolute dog shit. Like we were dog shit in every fucking category.
What was the team name? Do you know that?
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, you don't have to remember. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
No,
Jesus,
no, no.
especially.
Oh, it was Fuck. No, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Roads to placement.
I'll just go along to etf2l.org and look up your name and
Yeah,
sure
I'll
you'll
try to get
find
that
it.
now.
Like I don't think it's not an achievement to have got a medal from being an open. One of the big things that happens when a team or a bunch of friends come together and start playing competitive, one of the hardest things to do, much like the hardest thing to do when you're doing a podcast is do like the podcast. One of the hardest things to do when you're like playing competitive for the first time is actually get through a season far enough that you get a medal. Like that is a congratulations. You now know how competitive, like the structure around it works.
That's some real stuff.
Oh yeah, no, like the half of the half of the teams I fought against, we would like get to a match and then be like, oh yeah, the team dissolved. They had like a massive falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that did happen to my team in the end. I know. There was
mid-season.
There was one.
You were the weak link, Sam.
It wasn't mid-season. It was after a season.
Yeah, so that's not really a problem.
Yeah,
No,
but
because that happens to every team.
Yeah, we got a rotation, and it was before the season started, and then it found out we did like a well, I can't remember what they called it.
A poll.
Yeah, we did a scrim, and then what's it called? After the scrim, we found out one of the new people we had was a hacker, so he got the boot. Then we couldn't find a new sniper, and then the sniper we did find, he was an absolute cuntaloid, and I don't know. He just had a problem with me specifically. I've no idea why. But then he got the boot, and then I think I just kind of fizzled out of it.
So 8 years ago.
Sorry,
8 years ago. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
There was a massive racist on my team as well, which we didn't learn until the end. So
I was going to say, with the C word, we are now an Australian podcast. So yeah.
So
Anyway.
8 years ago, Sam came out of the womb, and also Meet Your Match came out. So
It was 8 years ago.
8 years.
8 years.
I was 12.
8 years ago, I would have been. What age am I now? I would have been 11. So,
Shit.
8
That's
years
not-
ago, I would have had a job.
Wow! Yeah!
Damn, that's hard.
I have my team names here now if you want to know them.
All right.
Go on.
The Highlander one I was in was only 4-word. It like only and then the number 4 and then word.
I know that team.
Yeah, so I used to be in. I don't know, is that still a team or what?
No, I lied. I didn't know that team.
Okay.
Do you remember my team?
I used to know that team.
Do you remember my team? The
Oh.
huge sweaty moobs.
Only 4-word. Sam, you're still in that team. You're a leader of that team. on
Wow.
the page.
Congrats!
Oh shit, I am. I'm just looking at it now.
Right, let's get back on topic because
sorry.
this isn't the
So
Sam's team podcast. It's the
so 8 years ago, this episode started, and also Meet Your Match came out to a resounding boo from everyone. So, Sam, were you there for that? You
No.
weren't.
he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. He wasn't in the trenches.
But
I
you know
was there.
what? You know what the big change was.
You had to be there.
I was there.
That was I was so hyped for Meet Your Match, and then the moment I entered the game and I had to start queuing, I was like, "This is a disaster. This is a travesty."
Were you there that actual night that it dropped, or the day? I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah,
So-
I was there. I couldn't get into a single game.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it was
I had
broken.
the other problem, which is less well known at the time, which was if you they screwed up the code somehow, or well, imagine that, but they screwed up the code somehow so that if you had more than 10 friends playing Team Fortress 2, none of them would appear on your list of like people playing TF2, and the game wouldn't properly launch. So you couldn't start
Oh, I
queuing
see.
until you cleared down all your friends.
Good thing I didn't have friends back
Yeah,
then.
which is it's great. So all the people who are really useful in terms of like promoting a thing as happening in the game, as in all the people who are streaming, all the people who had like a social presence, all of those were immediately excluded from Team Fortress 2. and had to either like create another account and jump on that, or do something else in order to get in and start playing the game.
I didn't even know about that. I just knew that
Yeah.
the first day you couldn't like queue in like at all. At least I couldn't. I remember
No.
waiting for like 40 minutes and just searching and searching.
Yeah,
And
figured out how to get past that. And like you, I sat there and basically I wanted to be one of the people who got to enjoy, like, I want to be first. Everybody wants to be first. I wanted to be first. I wanted to enjoy like the experience of playing this brand new version of Team Fortress 2. And like you, I queued for hours. I think I queued for hours and then got into a match, and then immediately like somebody left, so everybody got booted, and we went back to queuing again.
Yeah,
That was a really hard stream.
No, what else did the casual we have now and the casual that was introduced then was pretty different.
I don't think
I
you
remember they had a
understand, but-
stopwatch mode.
I don't think you understand the fucking casual then. Like, if you thought casual sucks now, you not even understand the pain and suffering
Really?
that it used to be.
Yeah.
Like, holy
Because-
shit.
Because I did some research before here. Look at me go.
Oh yeah,
And I read up a lot of comments saying that
You can
the
read?
Yeah. I might be a caster for Critscast, but I can read.
impressive.
Yeah. But I read up like on Reddit. That's not really a good source, but that
Heyo.
people found really good enjoyment when it came to the quick play system. And to be honest, I would agree in some way, because I felt like
So
you wouldn't have to sit in a 2-hour queue to find the game.
So quick
And,
play has
like-
been kind of going downhill a long time. I mean, if you really want to get into the bones of like casual system post of the competitive update, you have to look back at the actual structure of quick play leading up to that point, where it had gone from this thing where game servers were more or less exclusively either Valve provided or provided by the community. And a lot of emphasis and effort was put in by Valve to promote community servers. So it went through that stage where everybody was like shining in happiness and rainbows, and then people started like inserting adverts into their game servers, such that when you first launched the game, you got the message of the day,
Yeah.
and instead of it being just a pure HTML kind of, this is welcome to Indie's
Server.
favorite game server, or the Swishcast game server, into having like code injected into it, such that
I remember it was like AdFly and
yeah,
shit.
you get like
Adfly.
yeah, exactly. You get loads and loads of ads
Ad
coming out.
fly.
But then, like every time the game would finish a level or change the map or something, some like thing would happen within the game, it would display the message of the day again, and you go through the whole system again. So people started abusing this system. So Valve went in and said, "Well, what can we do to ensure that the random players of Team Fortress 2 have a better experience?" And they started pulling back from what had been like casual mode and community gameplay, and try to make more and more the default experience be playing on their servers. And so finally we would get to this whole casual mode and competitive mode thing, and quick players effectively cut off, just sliced off at the knees, any real way of new players experiencing Team Fortress 2 on a community server basis. So now it is 99% of the experience is Valve servers, and then if you know what you're doing, or if you're being instructed by somebody who's like sat behind you and telling you where to go, then you can find community servers. They're not gone, but it's a real effort to try and find them. So that's bringing you up to date. Carry on. And I'm going to take a sip of my beer. Carry
The
on.
thing is, right, the quick play back in the day was just so peak, because it's like you don't have to fucking wait around and just let the game find the fucking thing for you. You can just put your fucking own elbow grease in and just have a look see. And the thing is with ads, it's like, isn't there a command that you can just turn them off, that like I'm pretty sure like most people have on like all the time?
Yeah, you could definitely disable like message of the day stuff, but
Yeah.
you would only get you'd have it disabled in the way that the first time you launched the game, you wouldn't show you message of the day, but after that it might like pop up stuff on map
Okay,
change or
yeah.
something of that
I
nature.
do remember there were still servers that actually like didn't let you join the server unless you had that
Yeah.
option
Really?
disabled. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember that.
It's so annoying.
Uh,
And
I mean,
any server
from
does
their
actually-
perspective, it was a good thing, because like running a game server, certainly in that time period, was not a cheap thing to do. You couldn't download more RAM from the internet, for example. You had to physically have a server available to you. It was going to cost you X amount of money each month to run. And so being able to do that, that's not something that Valve didn't want to actively say, no, you can't make back what you've made from it. But people just abuse that system, as people do when there's a system to abuse, you abuse it. So you can see where they're coming from their perspective.
But the thing is, right? Do you think an effective patch to some servers running ads is to remove the entire system and start again? Like I don't know.
I mean, they didn't do it that way. They started peeling back, and it's every single update they did. They sliced a little bit of like potential and possibility for abuse away, took a little bit away. The whole kind of queuing system and the casual mode system and the quick play system, it all sort of went from being 99% of new players will experience community servers to 50-50 to 30-70 to eventually when we got to casual mode and competitive mode to quick play being this fairly locked down experience. It was a casual thing.
I still think was it. The thing is, like, with quick play, it's just like, if as long as you just like have a community server browser, it's like you could just keep it with just like official Valve servers, and people can still find the games they want. I think that I don't think there's any problem with that at all. Unlike casual, where there are many problems that make it just more annoying.
I feel like while trying to fix one issue, queuing, the whole concept of queuing introduced like a million more. I feel like I don't know if this is a take that most people agree with, but I think the bot crisis wouldn't be nearly as bad if you could just choose what Valve server you want to join instead of like needing to like queue with all the bots queuing with you at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say that.
Like, I don't. How would that help the bot crisis? You see, I don't really. I never really got to use the server browser. Like, I use it for community servers, but I don't get how that would really help the bot crisis.
Okay, if you, I mean, it's been a while since I've loaded up the default HUD for Team Fortress 2. But working, I mean, I've watched people who are streamers themselves launch Team Fortress 2 for the first time and then have them sit through the "so what do I do now" mode. The user experience of Team Fortress 2 in its default mode is not straightforward. It was never built to be straightforward. Perfectly honest, the game was designed back in a time when people were playing Doom. And the expectation was that if you were savvy enough to install the game, then you should be able to navigate your way around like the screen that allows you to play the game in the first place. So there was an expectation that you'd be able to get to your community servers if that was the way that you wanted to play the game. That the HUD that they changed, like the loading screen or the user experience that they modified when it came to like the casual mode experience, it made it a little bit more obvious as to what to do. But it's still like a million miles away from an experience you might get from, I don't know, thinking of another couple of like first-person shooters, Overwatch, where when you launch the game, the whole game itself, the whole gaming experience itself is incredibly intuitive. Now, I hate the word intuitive because nothing is ever intuitive. But if you're coming from an expectation or an understanding of nothing, of no gaming experience, then when you launch Overwatch, there's a good chance that within a few clicks, you'll be in a game. But if you're coming from an experience of like no gaming experience, like a mindset of, what am I doing? Then when you launch Team Fortress 2, it's a lot of effort and a lot of figuring out before you realize that big sort of green thing up in the corner that says like the go start on it, that's the place that's actually a button and that's the thing you have to click. Before you can like go into the next section and figure out what it is you want to do. What's the difference between community? What's the difference between casual and quick mode and all the other things and MVM and all the other things. So like nothing about the Team Fortress 2 player experience now is good, but it's better than it was. But now when you launch the game, like the game itself tries to steer you towards casual mode as being the de facto, the default, or even probably better to say the right thing to do. The right next step is to click on casual mode. And casual mode, as you know, is a long way away from community servers. Community servers are there. Valve haven't done anything to put a barrier between you and them, except to sort of hide them away both in terms of being an additional click, but also when you've done that additional click, you're now presented with a list of things that aren't kind of like just another icon like you'd see in Overwatch or Fortnite or the other or PUBG or the other games. Yeah, Fortnite. There we go. Yeah, but it's not just another click. It's a whole series of clicks and typing shit in and pulling down menus and doing other things. Like,
I'm gonna be honest. Like the old system before Meet Your Match wasn't like unintuitive at all.
Wait,
Maybe
no,
this was just
but
like me.
Yeah, it was just you. It is you. Yeah.
Find a game button. I remember.
No, but don't you?
I click
I
it.
might be wrong,
So-
but I swear
so-
back in the day you could search for a match in quick play, couldn't you?
Right, PC gamers.
There was that.
PC gamers, first-person shooter gamers, people who came into gaming in the year 2007 until the year 2017, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember, it's been a long time, would have had no problem finding a game in TF2. But non-gamers, and don't forget, Team Fortress 2 for a very long time was the default game that every person who installs Steam for the first time is presented with a bunch of games. Team Fortress 2 was one of those games. It was free to play. It had a massive player base. It had cartoony type characters. Like there's so many things pulling you towards Team Fortress 2. But after going through that process, if you as a new person experiencing gaming for the first time on a PC were then presented with Team Fortress 2, you would be stumped.
I really would not say so because, like, TF2 has the reputation of being like baby's first person shooter.
And that's me.
I don't think it has that. I don't know
That's
where
me
you got
right
that
there,
experience from. I mean, Reflex possibly, but Reflex to one side. I don't know why you would think that. It might look like a cartoony type game.
Listen, I was 10
Yep.
or 12, right?
I think Roblox is maybe gamers' first game.
Right, but I didn't know what Roblox was back then.
Well,
the only
didn't
thing I
exist
had
back then.
I mean, it wasn't that popular. That Minecraft was popping off,
Well,
But
I was,
then
like,
when
I
my
was
buddy-
like 13 or 12 when I started playing TF2, and my first
when
server
my-
was fucking Trade Minecraft, so I guess it kind
yeah,
of is.
exactly.
There
And
are ways for baby brains to get into it.
And after I got Steam, because my friend told me to play Unturned, right?
Bang,
That's
yeah.
when Unturned was the thing, right? I browsed through Steam, saw Team
Wait, play
Fortress
what?
2, and I was like, Unturned, the
dumbass
zombie
zombie
survival game, Minecraft
Oh,
zombie
okay,
survival
okay, yeah.
with guns.
With
But yeah,
guns.
with guns. And where was I? Yeah. And I just saw Team Fortress 2, and my friend recommended me that too. And then that was basically a game that stuck with me till today. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I feel like I've derailed this conversation. Carry on. I don't know where you were.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk about Meet Your Match.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Well, we just started talking
Well-
about queuing and stuff. 'Cause that was like the biggest change that they made.
Yeah.
That's the change I hate the most because every time I open TF2 now, I hate the fact that I have to queue.
The thing
Like,
is,
it's
right,
just-
games like
Okay.
TF2 Classic and Open Fortress, they're basically just quick play and it works fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's-
exactly.
The thing is, okay, I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, I fucking hate the queuing system, and like, I think Funk made a video about it and all that. I've never, ever had a problem with it, like, at all. Like, I don't get the fucking hate for it at all. It's like you load up, you click your game modes, you wait to be put into a match. Sometimes it fucking breaks, but then you just like that's just because like the servers are down. You go to a community server.
It's like
It's because you've never had it better, Sam.
the
Because
thing
like
is,
I,
right, queuing now is fine. It works. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like the TF2 isn't like unplayable now. Like I don't think it's that bad. It's just that quick play. I think it just worked like better. And like the thing is with queuing now, it's like there's like not really a reason to have queuing aside from people can't join you off Steam or like there's no MMR and casual is there or anything. So it's just I don't know.
I remember my favorite map when I first started playing was CTF Sawmill. And I
Wow.
remember I was boot up the main menu, go into look for Sawmill. There it is. Join it. Now, if I'm in the mood for some CTF Sawmill,
Yeah,
I
good
look in the
fucking luck.
community server browser. No one is running that. Go
Good fucking luck tune for that, Indy. No one is queuing.
then queue for one singular map and wait like 20 minutes. Join. It's full of bots. Whatever. Goodbye. Game sucks. Like, that's
Your experience is not unique by any measure. Again, I spend far too much time on Twitch, watching people play Team Fortress 2 for the first time. It is an experience that I genuinely, I could not, if there are any Valve developers listening to this, and it may be the case that there are, I haven't let
No.
you guys in on this, but the first time I visited Valve, it's only been like 25 minutes. Who's got the bingo card before I'd mentioned that I'd visited Valve? Anyway, the first time I visited them, they did say that at certain times of the day, they would the developers, when they were in the room playing or working on TF2, they would kick open a big TV in the development room and watch whatever was going on about Team Fortress 2 at the time.
Huh.
So it may well be possible that the potted plant and the janitor are watching this right now. But if they ever do want to spend a bit of time experiencing Team Fortress 2 through the eyes of a newbie, just sit there and watch the people with 0 viewers on Twitch, and you will experience firsthand what it is to play the game. The whole idea of Team Fortress 2 being something that you can just drop into and play games on, that has, largely with Bot Crisis, admittedly, has essentially been destroyed. Like the chances are that the first game that you launch into now, with you will experience bots, you'll experience cheaters, and you will have no idea why people are leaving in droves. And it may be some time before you realize that you're just there to fill up the numbers. Yeah, tragedy. I'm sorry, I did have a point when I started this. I can't remember what it is now, but anyway.
It's just like, I just think like removing quick play and replacing it with casual was just a change that wasn't necessary. Like it wasn't like broken at all.
No,
quick play.
it was. I think the only reason that casual mode existed as a thing was because competitive mode came in. Like, because
Speaking of,
yeah, well, exactly. There we go. So
Yeah,
the
let's
whole reason we're
transition to
here is competitive mode, and competitive mode was a thing that they had been working on for a number of years at the point when this was released. Again, inside knowledge. I'm not sure how well this is known, but I had a conversation with some of the devs, and they were saying that when Overwatch was being considered, like before it even got a launch date, they realized that a lot of the players of Team Fortress 2 would be enticed to go over and at least try Overwatch, and more realistically, would feel inclined to play Overwatch because that was the competitive experience that I think some of them sort of thought Team Fortress 2 would eventually become. So they realized they had to do something in order to retain some of the competitive players from Team Fortress 2. And they fumbled the ball so dramatically that I think anyone who had been on the hedge about whether or not Overwatch had a chance saw how badly the competitive experience for Team Fortress 2 had been implemented and thought, fuck this, I'm off. So yeah, that was a bad experience. It must have been, I mean, it's awful for the community, it's awful for the players experiencing it for the first time, but it must have been such a kick in the nards for the developers themselves, who had at that point spent, as I said, months, if not years, building a tool that they thought would be appropriate for competitive.
I think like the way they've like done competitive now is just like, and just like the way, just like not even like the rule set, just like the thing is, right, competitive, and like there's this whole debate with casual TF2 players and competitive TF2 players, like, and people want to think like that like every casual player wants to become a competitive player, but it's like like the thing is, it's like it's so different. Like the people who play them, like there is so many different people who play TF2. It's not like a competitive match of Overwatch is basically the exact same as a casual match, except people like don't speak as much. But a casual match of TF2 and a competitive match of TF2 are like basically completely different. So trying to like bridge the gap is like, it's such a slippery slope where you can like scare people off of playing TF2, and people will like feel like TF2 is losing its casual nature. So
I would
like a lot of rhetoric at the time was like, oh, if we just bridge the gap, and a lot of YouTubers, especially, I remember there was Array7, Uncle Dane, they were like, everyone wants to play comp. It's just that they don't know it yet, and that we should bridge the gap and make them as similar as possible. And then, the stupid like trickle down balancing philosophies and stuff. I think a lot that was like a dark age for Team Fortress 2 as like a silly casual game, because like if it felt like everyone like saw like games like Overwatch coming out and they were like, I want this game to be that, even though it like very much wasn't. That's how I'm like seeing the situation like retroactively now.
It's like, the thing is, right, TF2 competitive should definitely exist and it should have a place, like 100%. But TF2 at its core, like what the game has been for like entirety, 12v12 clusterfuck, is just not a very competitive game. Like, but it can be if you have the right rule set and like the right like game modes and the right format. Like, it can be.
One thing I would say, like, I did kind of get swept into that whole like, start making TF2 more competitive thing. I've fallen out of it. I still do like competitive, but I think they shouldn't be like completely separate. I think they should be a bit more integrated than they are now. But we don't need like this bridging the gap type shite that like Uncle Dane was talking about.
Make them the
But
same.
one problem I had when I started my channel, I would like take advice about like weapons and stuff like that and strategies from like comp players, because that's what I mainly played when I started my channel, comp. And but I didn't advertise it as comp because I was kind of like, I kind of just like assumed trickle down balance worked perfectly. I do still think that trickle down balance can work, but it can also make the game less fun. But also sometimes it just does completely fuck up.
It technically works, but it makes like the game more boring. Like I will never
said.
Yeah, I will never shut the fuck up about the panic attack. You had like a fun concept, and now it's just like whatever. It's just a shotgun, but shoots squares.
The Jungle Inferno patches was like an example of trickle down balancing, and it made a lot of those changes are notoriously like hated.
I mean, I kind of feel like Reflex probably like the best example of this. Someone who has a fairly, certainly out of all of us here, probably the best experience in terms of competitive, or the highest level of competitive gameplay experience. For you, I kind of want to ask the question: did you come into TF2 through comp, or did you come in through casual and discover comp afterwards?
Well, yeah, I discovered comp afterwards, and the thing is, it was kind of like I had a phase, like I was kind of tired of playing TF2 casually to a point in 2019, right? I didn't play almost for a whole year. I barely played any Team Fortress 2 after being so active on it. And then I kind of felt like, I watched CJ a lot, right? Yeah. And he played a lot of competitive, and that kind of like exposed me to the competitive scene and made me interested. Like, damn, I want to, like, I've always wanted to be like in a competitive team, you could say. I always wanted to be part of the team and win something. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of motivated me, personally at least, to get to play competitive Team Fortress 2. Was just wanted to be a part of the team.
For sure. I mean, regardless of how well merged or meshed together comp and casual Team Fortress 2 is, even on your best day, even on your brightest moment where you found yourself playing casual with like 6 of your best friends, or 9, or even 17 of your best friends, just playing like the best game of casual in your life, like the feeling you leave with, whether you've won or lost, of that kind of like, yeah, this is a cool time, I enjoyed myself, I'm slightly drunk, like all of those things just pale into such complete and utter insignificance compared to that first time you and your 8 friends, if you're playing Highlander, or you and your 5 other people that also play Team Fortress 2 on your team, let's call them friends for the shortness of it, friends, win your first match. Like, god damn, the feeling of exhilaration you get as a result of playing competitive and winning.
It's more about it's more about your values, though, right? If you value a good time with your friends, casual, of course, it's always nice,
It's the difference between having a nice warm cup of cocoa and having a shot of whatever poison you want to consume that evening before going out for a rave. Like, both of them are enjoyable experiences, but competitive gives you like wow experience, whereas casual gives you experience.
I want to point out that as are both different experiences, you cannot bridge the gap between a shot of whiskey and hot chocolate.
I mean, you can put a shot of something into your coffee or whatever, but still, they are as you say different experiences. But do you feel Reflex now that you're like the competitive has kind of overtaken your enjoyment of casual? Can you go back to casual now?
I mean, if some of my buddies just want to play casual, I'm down for that, 100%. But it's like I normally use casual to just practice. Since I'm a player myself, I just use casual to practice my aim, my game sense, and just get better in general, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of use casual for. I use it as a training method because I'm an esport athlete myself. So
And I think that's really interesting because now I'm thinking what I want out of TF2 is different what you want out of TF2. I've been a casual player for what over 10 years now. And I've tried competitive a couple of times and I just found it stressful. Like I went on TF2 Center, you wait like an hour to get a full team in.
But that's TF2 Center, man. You went to the wrong place, man.
I mean, if I went to the wrong place, that's fair enough. But I remember.
Reflex, what's the right place?
I mean, it's primarily pugs, to be honest, but you need to be a member of those pugs.
Yeah.
Because it's private. It's more private. Yeah.
And I think that's probably like one of the main issues with competitive is that once you're in it, once you're part of the clique, then you have a much better time enjoying competitive. But
absolutely.
The barrier to entry, the learning curve is steep and unwholesome. Like it is an entire process.
I was going to say, continue to say that with Team Fortress 2, when I join a game, I am on that voice chat. I cannot play TF2 in silence. I immediately go into voice chat, I start doing a bit, start talking to somebody, start doing like stupid shit while like fragging. And we say this on the show a lot, and I don't know who first said it, but TF2 works really well as a chat room with guns.
If you say that one more time, I'm gonna fucking blow my brains out.
That's my favorite. And that, no, but it's
fuck
true
up.
though. It's a
Then
good
I thought you were going to
analogy.
say a crits cast thing, and I was going, "Oh, I just said that," but I've never heard that before. But that's really cool. That's good. It's a good way of phrasing it.
They keep going on. Oh,
It's a good analogy.
It's chat room.
It's a good way to say it.
Because it
But,
is. That's how I started playing TF2, chat room with guns.
All right.
It has
No.
been
Like I'm trying to say that like I've been with casual sort of took that away from me because I can't shit talk the other enemy team with voice chat. That took it away from me. But I will say that that's still alive in like let's say Team Fortress 2 Classic where there's all talk and all that kind of stuff. Like you can still make TF2 that, and that is my preferred experience. My preferred experience is joining, shit talking the other team, gassing up my teammates, doing stupid bits. And when I tried competitive, none of that was there. And I mean, why would it be?
But it's kind of like the
Let
whole
me tell
point
you,
of
wait, can I just say something? Sorry. That's what I believe is like the art of TF2. What I really love about TF2, you can do anything, man. Like your casual experience, you just described in detail. My competitive experience that I described in detail, we both have a lot of fun doing those stuff, right? But of course, there's always people out there who's like, they want to play deathmatch. They want to play. They want to play for Death Run.
Pastime.
They want to play prop hunt, right? And versus Sex and Hell. People have fun with everything in this game,
and it's all the same game. And it's
all in the same game. It's like a 200,000 in one game.
Yeah, it's the penknife to rule them all. And it's interesting that Pastime came out on the same update as competitive mode and casual mode. Well, so it effectively it came out of beta, which is the same thing as the developers saying, right, fuck this, I'm not working on this anymore. But yeah, it came out at a period where people had essentially said, I don't care about this anymore, and job done. I'm moving on to other things. But I think the competitive mode, I think Valve tried to achieve two things with competitive mode. Number one, they're trying to create a competitive experience in game without having to use any third-party applications, without having to use any third-party services. But I think the other thing they wanted to do was to bridge the gap between what most people enjoyed. And by most people, I do mean most people. Like the number of people who play Team Fortress 2 and have never heard of Quixcast, never heard of Swishcast, never heard of MANN magazine, never heard of any of the other things, the things
Only
that
heard about the
we
lo-fi
did-
hat.
Yeah, well, whatever. They have only had the experience of playing Team Fortress 2 because it was on their Steam thing and they downloaded it and played it for free or whatever. Like that makes up 93% of the people who played Team Fortress 2, or 99% of the people who played Team Fortress 2 over the course of the many years that Team Fortress 2 has been a thing. Right, the number of people who have played competitive during that same period is maybe like 1%. And those who have ever listened to a Team Fortress 2 podcast, maybe like 0.07%. So competitive is a very, very, very niche thing within Team Fortress 2 itself. And I think with this whole competitive mode update, what the developers wanted to do, and again, this is me putting ideas into the mouths of or the brains of the developers, and that's not something I'm qualified to do because I don't know the answer. But I think that what they tried to do was to bridge the gap, was to create an experience of casual, to let them know that competitive existed. Here, try this thing, have a crack at it, get your arbitrary badge thing on a different level, number or color, and while you're trying it, people will definitely tell you, actually, if you want to experience the real competitive, you need to join this guild or this group or this community. But it
Oh,
Aggro,
You
you cut
fucking
out.
died!
Nanny's dead.
he yapped so much he imploded.
But yeah, he had a good point though.
He did.
But
Am I
like
still
my
here?
He's
oh
back
yeah,
now,
you're back now. You're
I'm
back,
back.
now.
Okay. I wonder why you're all being really quiet and nice and letting me talk. That explains it. But yeah, so in doing so, Valve put forward a scenario where people could experience competitive without having to experience competitive. And it's just unfortunate that they didn't do it in a way that was successful.
It's I think they need to like keep in mind that that was it competitive at its core is a niche thing. It's like because like the thing is right, it's like TF2 has so many ways you can play it, and competitive is just not it's like just one of those ways. It's not really a main way to play, which is unfortunate, but it's just how it is. So having to like a queuing system built in for it is just not. It's just it fundamentally just flawed because there's not enough people playing competitive like at one moment who are going to be queuing into it. Like it's just not. I've had this like what was it? I've been talking about with Indie a bit. I've had this idea for a way they could redo competitive in a way that would maybe have more people playing. I know you were like clowning on TF2 Center a second ago, but I think they have a really good way of doing it where you can just like create a lobby and then have like people like pick a class and then join and then it would go. So if they just made competitive like a menu where people could like set up a lobby, you could select your class and then it would just go with like a basic rule set. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be a easy way for people to just try competitive without having being shoved into like a 50-hour queue. I think
because instead of like queuing, not knowing if there's literally anyone else in the world queuing right now, you could just click the comp tab and see if there's like someone hosting a game and just join in.
Yeah, and then it's like, it probably wouldn't be many people playing, but I feel like the people who would play would kind of form a small community on their own.
The weird thing with this is that, I mean, it's perfectly clear that bots exist that are capable of playing Team Fortress 2. Whether they're capable of playing it without cheating, I don't know. But it's still a thing that exists. Why don't they just fill competitive with bots? Just fill it to the absolute brim with bots. So if you want to play a game, then you immediately join. And as you work your way up the ranks, you play with less and less bots.
It's because competitive MMR doesn't mean anything.
There's not enough people for
I
it.
mean,
to work.
competitive MMR,
plays.
competitive MMR is dependent on there being enough people playing competitive MMR. If there's less, and I remember Rusky doing the numbers on this, and it was something egregiously huge, like 500,000 people need to be playing before MMR makes any sense. And I'm sure it's not that high, but it's still ridiculous. Like the math is utterly like insane. But anyway, I mean, there shouldn't be a barrier to the experience of like um, competitive being competitive. Competitive should be competitive. And then as you work your way up through the ranks of competitive, it should get more and more competitive. But as it stands at the moment, it's like essentially almost nobody plays. I have been, as an experience, an experiment, throughout the entirety of this podcast, I've been queuing in competitive mode,
Are you
hoping to
serious?
get a game. No, I'm not serious, of course not.
Oh.
But it's that kind of thing. Like there would be a very real sense that an hour in there would be no games for me.
I
Yeah,
mean,
makes sense.
with a friend of mine, with a couple of friends, he's in chat right now. Attack on Hollywood. We set out we called it the road to placement because you need to win 10 matches in TF2 competitive to get a rank. So we did a road to placement where for a couple of days, all we did was try and play TF2 competitive, and we just kept queuing in with the same people on both teams. It was just like, I think like a couple people got the same ideas as we did at the same time. So it was just like, it was basically us playing with the same people over and over and over again until cheaters joined, not bots, mind you.
Yep.
People just cheating, and there was just like a sniper that joined that was cheating. He was just spawn camping or whatever. And at that point, everyone left, and TF2 Valve comp just died then and there for us. The road to placement never came to fruition.
So this is the idea that if you have been around long enough, you've seen enough of Team Fortress 2. Were you around when Team Fortress 2 had a beta version that was playable?
I never played it myself.
I do remember
it.
I remember it being alright, actually, like, for what it was. You know, it was obviously a beta thing.
Sure. So what would happen within Team Fortress 2 beta? The reason it existed in the first place, it only existed for like the first 3 or 4 years that Team Fortress 2 was around. Don't quote me on that. It's probably somewhere written in the wiki. The reason it was there was so that Valve could test stuff. But the expectation was that if a new update dropped before it actually hit Team Fortress 2 proper, there'd be an announcement on the blog, say, new update dropped in Team Fortress 2 beta, go along and have a look at it if you want to. And people, like enough people would play it, like 10,000, 20,000 people would play it and then have an experience and then decide whether or not, like Valve would look at the stats and decide whether or not that was an experience that was going to be workable in the main game. But over time, and as other games came out and other opportunities came out, people were playing the Team Fortress 2 beta less and less and less, till it got to the point where nobody was playing it, so they turned it off. So now Team Fortress 2 became the beta experience, and Team Fortress 2 has, since that moment forward, been its own beta, its own running beta. So I think the problem that the mistake they made was when competitive launched and launched so badly, instead of just turning it off or learning from mistakes, fixing mistakes, and then turning it off and having another go some months later, they left it in place. So now this new way of playing Team Fortress 2, the new way of experiencing Team Fortress 2 with competitive, with casual, with all the other things, was now the de facto default and could only ever exist. And there can be no other version of Team Fortress 2 because this is the only version of Team Fortress 2. This is the update. So without being able to turn it off, or having decided not to turn it off, we can still chat about how awful the Team Fortress 2 competitive mode is now in 2024. We shouldn't, because nobody plays it. Literally nobody plays it, to the degree where if you want to play it, good luck. You're not going to be able to 12. You're not going to be able to find 12 people to make two teams and compete against each other. And of a game where there are tens, if not potentially hundreds of thousands of people playing at any one time, to not be able to find 12 to make a game,
it's just embarrassing.
That's pretty bad.
It's just embarrassing. Like, honestly, it needs to be just overhauled.
So turn it off.
Literally, just switch it off. Honestly.
but my badge.
Oh, your badge. The fucking badges are broken anyway. I had the highest rank when I started. Lost 2 games, now I'm bronze. Like, that doesn't even make fucking sense.
You're just bad, man.
I'm just really shit.
That's really what it is. I mean, we can't fix the game so you'd be good at it, because then everybody would be excellent at it.
I'm actually the best player in Team Fortress 2 history. I'll have you know.
I did a similar thing.
And this is the only Team Fortress 2
I-
podcast that's ever existed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, that is a fact. But I did a similar thing with that indie did. I had like a fucking phase of like comp TF2, and I will say when I play comp TF2, when it works, I really have fun. But
We're talking the game
What-
mode or like third party right now.
sorry, the game mode.
Yeah.
You know, when I play it, I really do have fun. I enjoy it. I've never been like, "Oh, I wish I was playing casual." Like I do. If I could play, if it worked as well as something like CS:GO's, I would probably be playing it most of the time. But I played it. I was playing it for like a month straight. And then what Party said happened. Like I was like nearly at Death Merchant, I think, and I lost one game, and I dropped like fucking 3 tiers, and I was like, okay, I'm not playing this shit anymore.
It's just bad.
It's just come on, Sam. You just gotta play more. You didn't level
Yeah,
up
man.
with the 5 other people who are queuing right now.
I'm looking on teamwork.tf. They like keep track of like TF2 player numbers. They're usually pretty contested whether they're like a credible source or not. But they said right now, as of 11 minutes ago, there's 9,000 people on casual, 6,000 people on community servers, and a whopping 0 players on Valve competitive. So yeah, that just
It's
tells
just
you everything.
no. I'm
about
not
it.
even joking. It's genuinely just embarrassing, like how damn shit it is. And that's why I'm
just
saying
take it out the menu.
No, there should be no feature to queue. You should just be able to create a lobby and then like you could be the party starter. Do you know what I mean? Like, why isn't they
So
just like
I've had this conversation with so many people over the years. We've been doing Team Fortress 2 podcasting and talking about
Right.
like competitive Team Fortress 2 within the competitive Team Fortress 2 community, which thoroughly and most definitely exists. And there are so many individual ideas about what should be done or what could be done or what Valve can do to just fix this one thing or just change this one thing around. And it will never happen. Not from the perspective of it being like too much effort for Valve to do, but just not being like something that is a value prospect for them. I think what they discovered when they ran competitive mode update and it didn't work out for them and it had various problems that need to be fixed. And instead of it driving people to Team Fortress 2 or wanting them to re-experience Team Fortress 2 from a competitive mindset, the feedback they got from the statistics that they had was essentially saying, we're no longer interested in Team Fortress 2. Screw you guys, we're going elsewhere. So they dipped their toe in it and a crocodile bit them. And so I think rather than us suggesting like better ways of doing a thing that they're almost certainly not going to do, we could maybe promote how it is currently being done within the community, within the experience of those who are playing Team Fortress 2 competitively, and possibly even like have this kind of backward and crossover existence being promoted. So I know that there are people who have only ever played competitive, and I know that there are most certainly people who have only ever played community or casual mode. So I mean, to me, a question would be how do you, as in people who have never played or who have had inconsistent or non-engaging experiences within the competitive community, how would you go about or want to go about experiencing competitive if you had the chance?
And we've had this question in chat, so you two might as well try and answer it now, saying how to get involved in a team. You know, he says everyone ignores him on TF2L, whatever that is.
Thing is, like, when I tried getting myself into the admin team of ET12, and with intentions of like properly marketing and getting more attention to the league per se, right? And you know, I really tried, but some stuff didn't happen, etc. and everything.
For sure.
But really, it's about self-initiative. That's all you got to do. Like when I first started, like as
Patches
a
of, like,
player
proper-
who has made it to the top division, like literally all you have to do is just try your best. Like you
Yep.
can't just sit there and whine that people won't hear you out, because you need to give them a reason to hear you out. You know what I mean? You got to put in, you got to, first of all, you got to be self-critical of yourself, right? You got to sit there, realize, am I bad at the game or not? Am I good at the game or not, right? Am I willing to get mentored? Am I willing to get criticized about my gameplay so I can better myself in the near future, right? And that's what like you need to do if you want to get picked up by a team, because I believe it was easier before because there were so many people then, but now it's more difficult to get picked up. You just need to
Yep.
put up a recruitment post for open. Don't think you're a big shot. Don't think you can hop on low, because you need to have experience first, right? I used to think that too. I used to think, oh, I might as well just go low because I'm a cool guy. But no, you need to learn how competitive works, what you have to do, positioning, yada yada, potato, main calling, and everything. So it's all about initiative if you want to get into the comp scene, and
sure.
it's more difficult and difficult. So if you want to do it, you need to do it as soon as possible and just work every day. See if you can get a position if it's something you really want to do. I can understand frustrations, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
like
think
sorry,
from
can
an
I'll
outsider's
round up
perspective.
here.
Yeah, go on,
I'll round
please.
up here. Sorry. And I've had a lot of people hit me up like for to mentor them, but I've been unable to play this entire season, unable to do anything this entire season. So like I wasn't able to help anyone out. And I kind of feel if someone in the league is listening to this right now, be the change. You know what I mean? If you want to see this league grow, you need to help the league grow. You need to do your own part and do everything. All right. I'm sorry. Go on, Agro.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head there. But, it's not necessarily anybody's fault that you're not succeeding within competitive. It's certainly no third party's fault that you're not succeeding within competitive. As you said, you have got to approach it with a mindset that says essentially, I am bad. I am bad at this game. It doesn't matter that I've been playing it for the last 10, 12, however many years. From a competitive perspective, from those who compete's perspective, I've only ever been playing casual. I've only ever experienced the game through the eyes of somebody who has not been part of a team. And so you need to put the effort into relearning Team Fortress 2 through the from the perspective of somebody who is playing competitive all the time. It's one of those sort of
it's really easy
catch-22s
too.
of you can't get a job until you got a job. You need experience, but you can't get experience until you've had experience. It's one of those. Except there are ways of getting experience. There are ways of learning how to play Team Fortress 2. You watch all the videos, you watch all the content. You see, you constantly tune in every week to see what's happening on Quitscast.
Yeah.
To see what
Shameless
teams are
plug.
playing. Well, while I'm here, yeah. And there's plenty of videos to watch on our YouTube channel as well. But you go in and you do the research. You see, you watch how people are playing. You watch how people get to mid, and if you're playing those pit classes, you're playing those classes where like you getting that hit enables your team to move forward. Then you figure out like where you've got to stand in order to get those hits, and you can practice within casual to a certain extent, or you can choose to spend your time going onto a server or an MGE server or a server where you are practicing against bots, and you're practicing how to see and stand and shoot and move about the map in the right sort of way. There's plenty of jump maps. There's plenty of other things. There's loads of opportunities for you to get better at the game. And once you're at that point, once you think that you are good enough to position yourself as being a competitive player, then you put your messages through on ETF2L, on RGL, and all the other recruitment places, and you put in the time of turning up to every single pug and just sitting there and waiting for your chance to play, because you're going to be a substitute. You're always going to be a substitute for weeks or months or potentially years. And eventually you have a chance to play and you will suck. And you'll suck at that time and the next time and the next time. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you suck so little that you actually might be good enough to play open.
And also a small little comment I want to throw in there. Just look for all the opportunities you can play in general, right? If you see in the Merc channel, people need a Merc, you say, yo, I
Yeah,
can Merc,
I can
put
work.
me in the bench. Or not put me out of the bench,
Yeah,
get me in the field, you know?
I mean, the cheat way of getting through to open or through to competitive experience, the fastest way to get to competitive is to turn up with 8 mates or 5 mates if you're playing sixes, and put yourself into open with a team. That is a cheat way of getting into open without having to do any of the homework.
Exactly, but that's difficult as well, alone.
Yeah, I mean,
But
who amongst us has got 5 friends?
Me.
Not me, guys.
people who want to be top performers for sure.
There we go. There we go. So, like,
I
is
do
it?
want to ask, like, okay, I know nothing about like TF2 com scene. Okay, I want to get involved. I thought TF2 Center was the way, but it's not. All right, what
I
about
like
what do
TF2
you
Center.
say? What about
Okay.
me, the village idiot? What do I do?
First of all, I gotta say I was kind of memeing when I said TF2 Center is swag. It's actually a very nice introduction to the competitive scene. We just love memeing on it in the competitive scene because afterwards, when you get into the competitive scene, you'll have better choices. But yeah, TF2 Center is a nice introduction. But you can join the E212 Discord, put up a recruitment post on the E212 website, e212.org, and just say that you're very keen on learning, you're very keen on just playing. Think of a class you want to play. Who
Yep.
do you think you pop off most with right now on casual? Like, do you think
Spy.
you can spy? See, like, do you think because competitive spy is very different from pub spy almost,
Yeah.
but you know you can advance a lot as a spy. You can advance a lot as any class
Upcoming
when you
spy
play.
looking for a sixes team.
When I'm thinking Highlander right now, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm
But
just fucking
I'm just a pesky Highlander
I'm
main.
trying to think. Reflex is there a class? I mean, I'm sorry to derail the answer before you've given it.
Don't worry.
Is there a class that you reckon that is close? Which
Noob
class
friendly?
of the 9? Yeah, which class of the 9 that you play casually is the closest to the playing experience for them when they play competitive in Highlander?
Oh, that was a really good question. Like I would say like heavy.
Yeah, I mean, heavy. You
Yeah.
have an expectation that you're going to be healed the whole time, or at least
Yeah.
most of the time.
Well,
I think that the difference
yeah.
with heavy is competitive heavy is also the spy check class.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but the thing is, that's what I'm saying. Like, it advances every single class in the game
Yeah,
when you play competitive. Because, like, for example, me, I picked up engineer from day one, right? And I still play engineer to today. And I still like, you know, use my. No, okay, scratch that. My experiences. Sorry, my
Yeah.
experiences I use in competitive these days come a lot from my experience playing NG in
Yeah.
general, right? Because what makes a good NG is, of course, the technical stuff, right? If you know your placements, know your positioning, know your timings, right? But it's also about DM, like on COF maps. What do you do as an engineer? Of course, you pull out your shotgun and start blasting people because people underestimate stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you're new, you think like, oh, engineer, he has a shotgun, you can do anything, and then you get fucking 2 shot by a shotgun because you're an arrogant scout, and you get blasted down instantly. But to answer your question, like really, it's there's not. If you want to have a more noob friendly experience, go either heavy or scout or medic. Those
I wouldn't
three.
say medic. I'd say medic is a difficult one. So, well, sorry, there's not enough medics. So go medic. You have a good
Oh
chance of
yeah,
getting a game.
allow me to
Yeah,
propaganda right now, man.
sure, please go for it.
We do
Yeah,
have in chat saying that these options are so obscure that it seems like an impossibility to actually get involved even when committed. This commentary is a bit biased as you guys have been around competitive
one.
players for a very long time. What do you
but listen,
think to that?
I criticize often competitive players for this, right? That's why I was having this speech just now, saying that we all need to take initiative as ourselves to drag people into this league who want to get
Sure.
into this, right? I have spent countless hours mentoring people, teaching them how to play the game and everything, free
Yeah.
of charge, right?
Yeah.
I've done casting to help out the casting scene. I've tried my best to do my part, right? I've overworked myself out of exhaustion out of this scene,
Yeah.
right? to try my best to bring people into the scene. And there's still some lazy ass bums out there who just don't want to do anything at all, right? Because
I mean, Reflex,
you-
you're fairly new to this whole thing anyway, so
I'm still fairly new, right?
Yeah.
Because I got dragged in by TS, who introduced me to this. I needed an engineer mentor. Here came Hanjo. He showed me a whole beautiful world. He introduced me to a lot of amazing people. He introduced me on how to play engineer. If it weren't for Hanjo, maybe I wouldn't be here, right? But like, he inspired me to be the change myself, right? To be that Hanjo to everyone else. You know what I mean?
I've just edited the video, not just, but a few weeks ago, the interview that you had with Honjo. I didn't realize at the time, like, you guys are like tight that way.
Yeah.
It sort of makes sense now. Yeah, so like it's easy enough to say I've been trying my hardest and I can't seem to get through, and that's going to be an experience that you will have to
You have to endure that shit.
and
Yeah.
endure. Yeah,
Because like
the other side of it is quite cool.
I'm exhausted, right? I would love to help you out, get into
Yeah.
the scene, but you just have to hope for the best that there will be someone out there that will actually help you out. Because I understand your frustration, Mr. Attack on Hollywood, right? But it is difficult, and I 100% understand that.
Yeah.
I try my best to help people get into the scene. Like last week, right? I was on the bus on my way back home, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of tired of TF2 at the moment, right? And like, I got a message from a guy, and he's saying like, "Hey, can you mentor me on engineer? I saw your post was still up, but do you still do it?" And I was like, "No, I'm sorry, but I really like your initiative." And I gave him some words of advice to just take initiative,
Yep.
just be patient, and believe in himself, right? Watch a lot of online stuff. He said he wanted to be mentor engineer. He said he watches Uncle Dane, and I said that's good. Watch Uncle Dane because he can teach you a lot of stuff. Uncle Dane taught me a lot of stuff as well. So, watch a lot of that YouTuber you really like, who mains that class, who's good at that class, right? Watch Array 7 if you want to get into medic. Watch Uncle Dane if you want to get into engineer. No, okay.
Watch
sorry.
not Sam G if you want to get in scout. Oh,
Watch
sorry,
not
this is
Sam
nice.
G if you want to know how not to flop. Like,
But you guys get what I'm saying, though, right? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
it's a lot about initiative, and
Yeah, it's a process.
I know I sound like a complete moron, like a billionaire who's like, oh, I can't give money. I need to save my money, right? I've given away so much from myself, you know?
For sure.
I
Sorry,
know
man, I didn't mean to get you upset. This is
Yeah. No, of course not.
I know you were clowning on TF2 Center, but I do want to like come drop in and say like, as someone who's been the kind of like I've kind of dipped my toes in competitive now and then. I'd say the easiest, most fun experience I've had in competitive, has been from TF2 Center because it kind of feels like a casual mode for competitive. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Where it's like it's like a weird. That's a weird way of saying that, but it's just like you could just drop in, pick a class role, and just and like a lot of the people there are just kind of like they don't even play like super competitive. Like they're chill. Like heavy was ring the brass beast. Like
Yeah.
like I
We're
follow
all-
that.
we're all approaching this from and it has come up in chat as well, like the idea that hey, this is a European perspective, mentioning ETF2L in particular. I mean, RGL, I'd say from a North American perspective as well. RGL is like RGL is not the old RGL. RGL now is really, really interesting in that the way they approach competitive, the way that they approach newcomers coming into the scene. Their entire structure is designed around the idea that anybody can play competitive. And actually, if your ping is good enough, it might be worthwhile just trawling, if you're a European, trawling over to RGL and seeing how they do things and getting involved in that scene. Like, it doesn't matter where your experience comes from. As you say, it could come from watching YouTubers, regardless of how poorly they play scouts, even watching not Sam G. You might pick up some small smattering of understanding from it. But wherever you get your knowledge
You're
from,
fucking go.
it's I know it's good, isn't it? Anyway, wherever you get your knowledge and understanding from, it's genuinely useful and it carries with you.
It all
What
goes
about-
back to just taking initiative and wanting to learn stuff and being self-critical of yourself.
What about
period.
ESEA?
So
Is that-
ESCA,
Oh, that's dead, isn't it?
yeah, it's fully dead now, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
ESCA was the thing back in the day, but when they said we're no longer in it, RGL stepped up.
but it was gangster. The dream was for real, and now I'm sandbagging steel. But
What the fuck are you saying?
He's singing the
let's put
funk.
this.
He's singing the
He's
funk
singing?
song.
Let's put this podcast back on track.
Sure, please do that.
I wanted to touch on to sort of because we're kind of talking in circles here. I wanted to talk about a fact that comp players have sort of become wider TF2 communities punching bag for a very long time
Oh,
now.
can we bring up Face It?
Yeah. I want to touch on that briefly because when this whole comp stuff with Meet Your Match started happening, a lot of people started blaming it on comp players themselves, like that. Oh, they did this to us. They ruined our game. They're ruining our game, etc. And it's created this brand new type of like reactionary person within TF2 that I don't think many people are acknowledging. That a lot of people just think like Banny or Uncle Dane. I saw a video the other day, which was just like an hour-long rant saying that Uncle Dane ruined TF2 because he told the TF2 dev team when he visited them to do like the balance changes that they did, or just completely like unhinged stuff like that. And there's been a lot of like people antagonizing the comp community. Like when Face It dip their toes into TF2, people are saying, like, a lot of people, I remember Array 7 was like, TF2's future is more competitive. We should support Face It and make TF2 more competitive. And of course, that other guy was like, no, you are ruining everything. And then they had like a huge, like 12-hour-long spat over like literally
Fucking
nothing.
like
Okay,
five
so-
parts between them each.
Yeah, like a response video to a
five
response video to a
responses.
response
That's
video.
like
Like it was like ridiculous. And I've been noticing that comp players definitely aren't alone in this, especially recently. Workshoppers have been like catching a ton of flack for like being the people who are ruining the game again. It's sort of a new target.
There's always
But comp
one
play-
group that are being targeted.
there's always some kind of target for this like reactionary group of people where it's like, you ruined the game, you're ruining it for everyone else. And that definitely, I still see. I said the video I watched was like from a couple weeks ago, where he said that comp players. He called them like he said like comp players are, and then a bunch of slurs, and then he said they ruined TF2. Okay, goodbye. And that's a sentiment I see like way too much even recently. And I wanted to like sort of point the discussion in that direction. Do you still think?
It's a valid point. I mean, you're right in saying that there are definitely individuals out there that feel that it's their opinion must be law. But I mean, I was there when Uncle Dane visited with Valve. In fact, I visited Valve and Uncle Dane came along.
Damn.
And I think there was a period of maybe 5 to 7 minutes where I wasn't in the same room as Uncle Dane. And if during that period of time he was able to hand them a list of like changes he'd like to see in the game and sort of slip them a tenner and say, go ahead, make those changes, old boy, I'll see you in 5 months, then that was certainly something that I wasn't a part of. But it's also a very unrealistic expectation that that conversation ever took place. So I don't put any credence in any one or group of individuals being able to make any realistic difference or realistic change to how Valve want to move or to change the game or to update it or do anything they want to do with it. The reality of the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now, be it, what month are we in? March 2024. Many months since, potentially years, potentially decades since Valve actually did anything like proactively within the configuration or the balancing world of Team Fortress 2. Things get changed because Valve have looked at the stats that they have of their game and have decided that a thing needs to change because a particular line in the stats is crossed into the danger zone and they want to ream it back a bit. That's how Valve work. Valve are not interested in hearsay, on people's expectations, on ideas that they have. Sure, I think they stipulated somewhere that if that they read the blogs or they read the forums. That was a long fucking time ago. They can't be bothered anymore. There's far too many more interesting things happening on their day-to-day lives. Occasionally, they'll look at the stats of their own servers and go, "Oop, hey up, there seems to be some bots here," or something of that nature, and they'll make a minor modification based purely on statistics. That is how they have always run their own company. So I don't put any credence in any one or any group of individuals being able to change the mind of Valve. And so that's to one side, or putting that opinion in nicely tied up in a bow and put to one side.
Yeah, so
I still have the opinion as well, though, that certain individuals have kind of okay. Put it this way. I believe I've already mentioned that Valve don't consider competitive to be like the primary purpose of Team Fortress 2. If it were, then they would have failed in their mission statements. Because there's just too few competitive players compared to the number of other players or casual players that exist within this world. And so that they've geared the game towards casual. The game of competitive is not Team Fortress 2 in any real sense that you might have experienced Team Fortress 2 as a casual player. Casual and competitive are two completely separate games. That they exist on different stratospheres, different multiverses. They're like I don't know what the MCU version of Team Fortress 2 competitive is, but it's a different number to the one that everybody else is playing in. Like competitive is just whatever your very best day of playing casual Team Fortress 2 times 1,000. That's prem level competitive all the time on their worst day. It's different games. It's just a different game. You can't compare the two. And so if you are trying to modify your game to make this very, very, very tiny percentage of people have a better time or a more competitive experience or an enhanced experience of Team Fortress 2 compared to the 99.9999997% of other players, then that's you being dumb, and Valve aren't dumb. So I cannot put any credence in anyone thinking anything along the lines of such and such a person has ruined Team Fortress 2. It's just bullshit. You just need to be better at the game. You just need to get
Because
good.
those guys are smart, the people at Valve. They know
sure.
what they're doing, man. It's just like they don't have enough manpower to do that thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So like TF2 hasn't had any real positive, massive updates because doing a small update is a massive undertaking. And to do a massive update will require the entirety of the staff. We're talking about 300 plus people, at least a percentage of them, that 10% of them. You need to get 30 people together and make a massive update, which is effectively stealing from all the other people who are making updates with Dota and CS and Steam and all the other things that actually do make them proper money. But either way, like it's just a massive undertaking, and I have no expectation that Valve will at this point ever update Team Fortress 2 ever again.
There's always hopium.
But I've got to hope that they will.
Yeah.
As I say, the hopium is real. I have got to hope that they'll make some sort of update at some sort of time and recognize when they do. When they get rid of all of these bots, when they get rid of all of these cheaters, then suddenly the game will start picking up and players will come back to it and it'll be an amazing experience again. And at that time, they might decide once again to look at competitive mode. They might decide, hey, look, people actually want to compete in this game. They want to experience it. They want to return to the essence of pure esports Team Fortress 2 versus pure get a few mates around and throw some beer at the walls and play some TF2 version of Team Fortress 2. Like it's just I get your frustration, but you're wrong. There is nobody who is controlling Valve, and even if there was,
So are these types
who the
of
fuck would
people?
these
We
people
wouldn't
be?
notice
Th-
properly
this
by now.
group-
Then
Yeah.
This group of people that's honestly growing larger and larger from what I can see that just hates comp players. Like, does this hate like affect the comp community at all ever? Or
I mean, it just leaves a bad stigma, right?
Yeah.
That people wouldn't want to be a part of that bad sheep or wolves of people, you know?
Sorry,
Because if yeah, sorry.
put this in context. Nerdly, is it Nerdly? Am I saying that right? In chat is saying Team Fortress 2 shouldn't be balanced around competitive. It should be balanced around pastime.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sure he's
it was
being
me.
like
Huh?
facetious here, but the reality is that Team Fortress 2 is balanced around
done
99% of the players. Yeah, okay. I realized as soon as I got to it that he was taking it. But yeah, Team Fortress 2 is balanced around the vast majority of people who play Team Fortress 2. It's not balanced around competitive. Competitive will take whatever changes, whatever balances are in effect, and say, right, how do I min max this? How do I make the best use of the games, of the strats, of the whatever it is, the restrictions that are in place? How do I push these restrictions to the very, very final, to the very, very edge of insanity? How do I make best use of what's available to me? Whereas competitive would be like, oh, this weapon that's come out now, it's got an extra shot in the barrel. Oh, that means I don't have to run around so much when I want to reload. Like it's not a thing. You don't like unlike many other games that have been specifically constructed from base level. Talking about like Overwatch, for example, I'm not sure what Overwatch 2 was, but Overwatch original was, they took a whole bunch of competitive players within the Team Fortress 2 environments and they put them in a room and said, this is Overwatch that exists at the moment. How do we make this more competitive? That's what they did for Overwatch. That's something that they never did for Team Fortress 2 and have, to my knowledge, never done. Team Fortress 2 has never been competitive focused with a bit of casual thrown in. Team Fortress 2 has always been casual focused with a bunch of like hardcore degenerates who go all out to make themselves as best as they can possibly be at Team Fortress 2. And I mean, gotta love them. They are fucking amazing human beings. They are the pinnacle of just taking a joke too far. But they make TF2 bend in ways that would screw your mind.
But that's
So-
what's sorry.
No,
That's
I'm
what's-
done. I'm just gonna beer. I'm on my 4th beer, by the way. Anyway, carry on.
That's what I really like about Team Fortress 2 as well, though. Is like, or any game, let's say that, like you can
Yeah.
compare EU versus NA, for example. That's a fun comparison, because like I was there at I-69, right, when there was on LAN, the last last on LAN EU versus NA fight. It was Witness Gaming versus Froyotech, and Froyotech just sweeping.
Oh, I was there.
You were there? Oh my
Yeah,
god,
I
we were
was-
in the
I
same
was
room
in-
then.
I
That's
was in
crazy.
the crowd. That's mental.
We were in the same room, but we didn't know
We
each other.
probably,
Then.
I
Isn't
probably
that
saw
crazy?
you. I didn't even realize it was you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was screaming a lot, so you might
Oh,
have
I
seen
was as well. Yeah, I remember when Valorant was on. I was like, I got the whole crowd to start. We want TF2.
me. Oh, was
Oh,
that you?
That was me.
Holy shit!
What the fuck? What are the odds?
Oh my god!
That's
We
funny.
found the weirdo.
Yeah,
Carry on.
that was me. Anyway, sorry. Guilty as charged.
Was he a legend? Was this party spoken about?
Or was he like, who's this cunt?
It was the latter, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but either way, I've got like, due to the competitive scene, I gotten to meet some amazing people, like all my Swedish homies, Sigokill, Bribel, Acrobat, Toodles, etc. Like, I got to go to LAN with them. We traveled from Copenhagen from Sweden to the UK, Birmingham, and we shared rooms and shit, and that was just so fun, like being with those people. And I got to meet them thanks to Team Fortress 2 competitive. So it's like, that's another positive you could say. It brings people together. It's a
For sure.
passion, and it's something fun everyone does. Like, if people are gonna have a stigma against competitive players, they just look at the loud minority. There's always a loud minority that is portrayed negatively. You know what I mean? Like, or there's always a loud minority that portrays the big group in a negative way.
Yeah, I think it's weird as well when you think about competitive, like just in general. I had never really been all that interested in competitive until Vito came to me and said, should we put some competitive on Critscast channel?
Mhm.
And then suddenly I'm like, yeah, do you know, yeah, go, well, let's do some of that. I mean, so it'd be interesting. And then since then, I've become almost like a devotee. But having experienced lands for a long time, like you say, Insomnia, all of the Insomnias and all of the lands that exist, and there are many of them around the world, even more in 2024, I think it will blow your mind how many there are. Um, like all of the lands are like ways in which people who have experienced Team Fortress 2 can come together, can meet each other, to realize that they are, while they are a tiny proportion of those people who play Team Fortress 2 in general, we're kind of like a united group. And we have the potential to continue to push like the non-believers, the uninitiated, those who have never played Team Fortress 2 in their lives, to recognize Team Fortress 2 as being a force potentially for good in the universe. And that is not something that casual players can do unless they're getting behind the banner of a YouTuber or a TF2 celebrity that has put out an amazing video or put out amazing content, or something on TikTok or on, I don't know, whatever, Twitch. But like the ability to just be part of like the competitive scene, to make friends and to grow as a human, and
Mm.
like it's such a overwhelmingly positive potential.
One thing I want to mention, like, even if you don't play competitive TF2, have no interest in getting competitive TF2, just watching and supporting your favorite team is enough to be a part of like the competitive
yeah.
scene, like 100%. Like I remember when I was in Insomnia, when like the grand finals was playing, the crowd was going crazy. It was a great time.
Mhm.
Like I don't think all those people were like playing fucking
I,
sixes at home, but it was just a great thing to
it,
watch.
it's kind of
Absolutely.
it's fun when if you look at any of the promotional video content for any of the Insomnia events, there'll always be like a moment where the camera will pan through the crowd. And I can guarantee you every single time that the camera pans through the crowd on any, hey, come to Insomnia, it's amazing, we have games and stuff and things. Like any kind of like advert for Insomnia will pan through the crowd, and it'll be the crowd of people who turned up to watch Team Fortress 2. Not the
Mhm.
crowd that turned up to watch Valorant
Oh, they
or
were lame
Counter
as fuck.
Strike or Dota or any other like enormous things that they
League of
have going there.
Legends.
League of
Womp womp.
Legends or Overwatch or Fortnite or PUBG or any, or what's that game with the cars? Any of them. Like it's not a crowd gathering type game. The crowd comes because the crowd is already there. Anytime you have a Team Fortress 2 LAN, it's an amazing opportunity to see exactly how many people are interested in Team Fortress 2. And even if they are not players themselves, if they're not competitors themselves, even if they're just randomers that come in off the street and see a bunch of other people getting drunk, it is like they will be welcomed with open arms. Oh, my fellow drunkard, come with us, come enjoy the crits. And so that's the experience that people get, and that's the experience that I hope people walk away from, or get to enjoy personally, or walk towards. I probably won't walk away from, but get to experience firsthand, is that competitive is a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. It's true, man. No,
Mhm.
the thing is, right, I've kind of had this, I've flip-flopped between like wanting to try competitive and just like not really like it being for me, and not really the reason I play TF2, but I always enjoy like watching like Habib and like Banny and people Beast, and like
I've seen
watching
Habib,
watching those watching those like tournament compilations of like the best frags and the hypest plays, and it's
Yep.
like that shit's always great. And I even if I like prefer TF2 as a casual game, I would never want the competitive scene to just like disappear or die, because it definitely earns its place and has its place in the community, like 100%. It's just a shame
sure.
that like Valve has like tried to like bridge it in like the worst way possible, but I'm glad an attempt was made, at least to like showcase it.
Having met the guy who put that code in place, he genuinely feels awful for how it turned out. Like he is
Really.
someone who was definitely like so into competitive, so into Team Fortress 2 competitive scene, and wants to do something for competitive, and it turned out in the worst possible way, and he just is devastated by it, or was devastated at the time. Again, this is a number of years back. I'm sure he's over it now. But yeah, like it is a thing that ended up being in place, wasn't what they wanted it to be. That he personally had to fight for to get it into Team Fortress 2 proper. And I think I don't want to quote him because I definitely can't remember the words, but essentially, if you think back to something that Gabe Newell is always famous for saying, that you only get to launch a game once.
My favorite class is a spy.
Yeah, well, so I hope it was worth the wait. So yeah, no, he said you only get to launch a game once. I think with competitive mode, they had the developer had one shot to launch competitive within Team Fortress 2, and it didn't work out. He recognized that at launching it at that time in that state was something that he did almost as a knee-jerk reaction to Overwatch going live. Don't forget, it came out like a few months after Overwatch had come out, and after like Overwatch had announced that they're going to do some sort of like competitive league. And he just kind of launched it, and it wasn't ready. And it definitely wasn't ready for the many hundreds of thousands of people who wanted to play it in that moment. So yeah, unfortunate. It's a real tragedy. I'm glad that there was somebody working towards the right aim, with the right mindset. It just sucks that it didn't work out. And I
Even
don't
if
think
it is the worst TF2 update ever made, bar none, it still was
boy.
made with.
I mean, I guess you
there have
could,
been some right
good
doozies.
intentions.
you could
Yeah.
you could argue Invasion, but
Again, I kind of want to put Invasion up there as being one of the worst updates, except that I had some involvement in that. So
Oh.
yeah, I also don't
Aggro's
want to
fault,
draw
we
too
don't
much
get
attention
fucking
towards
This is something
Invasion.
you gotta tell me someday.
Yeah, well, I'll have to someday, but not today.
No, at least Invasion had some hats. I don't know.
But
Yeah,
like,
there we go.
thing
Ugly
is,
ass
like,
hats.
when I was a dumb little baby boy when TF2 used to get updated, right? And
Mm.
really, I took that for granted. I didn't know the value of getting updates in your game, right?
I
I was
remember-
like, oh, I'm a stupid little baby boy. I like, yeah. I didn't even care if there were new items, right? I just Team Fortress 2 cool. Team Fortress 2 cool.
Well, you mean
But now,
like so? Like,
Yeah, sorry.
speaking back to Nerdly, and I feel Nerdy, I feel like they're probably the worst person to quote anything from, but they did say Invasion was cool. Actually, Invasion was cool. The reason why Invasion failed so hard was actually a lot of sort of back office stuff, like the way that people were paid, the way that the percentages were worked out.
I've heard that some people didn't get credited at all for some of the work.
For sure. Like there's certain individuals that I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole Invasion stuff again. That's an entirely other podcast, but not for this one. I think what is worth saying though is that from the community's perspective, from the outsider's perspective, a lot of the things that if you have spent a lot of time focusing on or being interested in, or like you have put in far much more significantly more time than is actually necessary, then you get very particular about individual things. But from a 99% of the world's perspective, actually a lot of these things that we classify as being failures, they were just moments. They were just things that happened in history. And you've got to remember that actually, even though this is kind of our lives, it's a terrible thing to admit to, but certainly this podcast exists purely to talk about Team Fortress 2. And in that world, we are going to put in a lot of effort towards getting the right research done and putting together solid arguments, as opposed to just turning up 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live and thinking that we have a series of questions that we're going to ask. We never actually get around to asking during the entire podcast. But like the amount of effort and the amount of focus that we put on particular subjects and a particular topic is significantly different from 99% of people who experience it as it happens. So yeah, I mean, the mistakes were made, but really, who gives a damn?
It's like, yeah.
I think the worst part of Meet Your Match was adding Swiftwater into
Yeah,
the
but it
game.
also added Sunshine, so
Swiftwater
it
was
added
fine.
Sunshine,
So it's-
Metalworks, and Swiftwater, which was a
Okay.
really nice addition, which introduced me to
you
those
like,
maps.
Do you
So-
like Swiftwater?
I don't even mind
Yeah.
Swiftwater.
Swiftwater's
we
fucking
never
nice.
played-
like Swiftwater?
I don't.
Yeah.
Why'd you
I like
Only
Swiftwater.
on off seasons on UGC, I play
God.
Swiftwater. We don't do that on
So-
Elite as well.
Right.
Sucks.
Swiftwater as a map had been in development at that time. It had been entirely focused on competitive. Like
Yeah, you
it-
can tell.
Yeah, so all it was introduced to the game during the competitive update for competitive players. Well, there you go. So Swiftwater
Boom.
was met by and experienced by exactly the people who had entirely been trying it, except that it had been designed to work for Highlander, and they introduced competitive as sixes. So it didn't kind of work out quite too well, that one. Sunshine, on the other hand, Sunshine again had
Sunshine is
been
peak.
Sunshine's
yeah,
good.
Sunshine had been designed specifically to work for sixes. It was a King of the Hill, a control point map, and you experienced it with your sixes team, and still to this day, it's played as a competitive map in the sixes scene. So, like, Sunshine was the right map to have alongside this update.
And Metalworks.
Metalworks definitely wasn't.
Oh.
And Swiftwater wasn't the right map for this update, but it was definitely a good map to include in the game eventually, whether for this update or one that was eventually going to come 2 months later or 3 months later when they did competitive Highlander mode, which they never did. But there we go. So, yeah, Swiftwater was amazing. I love Swiftwater. Do you not like Swiftwater?
I don't mind it. I don't think it's awful. It doesn't suck. It's not. Swiftwater's fine. I think
I've
the
never had a
last
good-
point,
I-
the last point on that one is pretty. But to be fair, no, there's not a lot of payloads which have a good last point. So
I've never had a good game of Swiftwater in all my years. I'm
I
sorry.
would not go that far. It's not that.
No,
deep, bro.
I have not.
It's not my favorite payload, but it's definitely not the worst. Like, it's fucking Hoodoo exists. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Hoodoo
So-
is like Demo Man Heaven though.
Hoodoo fucking sucks.
Hoodoo
So
sucks.
the reason
No,
why
but
Hoodoo,
if you sticky spam on Hoodoo, I'm not getting into this conversation. All right.
What?
No, you're admitting it's just a choky spam piece of
Yeah,
shit.
but on Swiftwater, I can't fucking do anything.
Because you're shit at the game.
I think that's a you
fucko.
problem, Indy.
all right,
Like,
Swiftwater's bad, but it's only bad because it's the first point. It is possible to lock down spawn and shoot into the gates where you have to leave
oh, that's the
in
first
order
point.
to get out of the spawn. So the first point of Hoodoo is pants. After that, it's actually a pretty good map.
And Gold Rush.
The
I
first
don't know,
parts
Gold
just hadn't been playtested enough to realize that it was going to be a shit experience for most players. But again, it actually is a really cool experience after getting out of first points on that particular map.
Gold Rush as well. But that, to be fair, I'll let Gold Rush off because it is like the first payload map. But ooh, not a big fan of that one. Too small.
I love Payload. Sorry, I love Payload. I love Gold Rush.
I-
I'm going to
I-
argue with you on every single map that you bring up. Here.
I do like
Junction?
Payload. I do think that.
Sorry, I don't think anyone. I don't think we get the junction debate. I don't think there's any
No,
junction
I don't
supporters
think
out there.
there will be a single junction defender in the stream.
Yeah, you're on that one. Does anyone want to defend Junction? Anyone?
No, why like fucking cricket noise? We get that going.
with Payload, I just
Wait,
think
hang on, I
that.
need to say, why are you listening to Death Grips? Fucking.
Am I?
No, not you. While we're doing a fucking podcast, he's listening to fucking Bottomless Pit.
It's it's white noise, man. Don't worry about it.
That's like the least podcast music I can ever fucking imagine.
Listen, it perfectly fits what I'm talking about.
How can you
competitive
hear
too.
any of us with like with fucking MC
I'm
Ryan
not
screaming
loud,
over?
it's very quiet. It's just like
I mean,
very quiet.
I fuck with it. All right, it's a good album, but it's just like just a weird choice for the podcast.
but I'm listening to you guys. I'm just putting
I
on
think
playlist, man.
I think we should MC ride this podcast to a conclusion.
Yeah, let's
I mean, I got 10 minutes more. I can yap about something.
let's I think we should approach the bottomless pit. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to think of some. And
trying to think of something to say.
and
I'm running out of beer at this point.
I'm running out. I'm trying to,
Catch me later. I'll buy you a beer.
we've
I'm running out of fucks
So,
to give.
We've
fucko.
seen,
Check
we've
out
seen
my-
the footage.
Check out
and
my Twitter, my X.
no.
I tweet
my
a lot.
ex.
I tweet pretty often.
We have seen the
And
Oh,
then
footage.
yeah, I
you can
check
check
it.
out
We
my
have
Twitch,
hustled our
twitch.tv/xreflex.
bones. It is time for the end of the stream soon. Let's just let you know. Alright? I'm trying to come up with Death Grip's
No,
fucking.
I
puns.
will say I last night I watched some Reflexes commentary and he's got the energy. He's if
Wait,
you
you have?
yeah, if you
Oh my god,
wanna
I'm flattered.
if you wanna listen to some competitive matches, I don't know. I didn't know much of what he was saying, but he had the energy and he had the spirit. So
Nah,
I do recommend you
sure.
check him out.
I
Like,
was hoping we'd get Eckstein on.
maybe one day.
Yow!
I wanted to. Can I talk about my affiliation with Kritzcast,
Go on then.
or like what my ambition is like when I
If you
cast?
want it, you need it. Go.
Because it came back to that marketing, or not marketing thing, but like advertising E212 as a whole. You know, I I would I kind of wanted to like make clips per se of like epic moments with like the casters go insane. Oh, the league is alive because the casters going insane, and there's a cool clip showing in the background, right? And that would probably incentivize more people
Can I
to
can I
check out the
mention
league, you know? Yeah, sorry.
Smash Melee and Smash Bros in general has some of the funniest commentators in
Yeah.
competitive history, because anytime anything happens, they will go, oh my god, oh, there's like 10 boys will run from the back and pick them up.
Yeah.
And every time I watch Valorant, well, I don't watch it willingly. If it comes on the fucking TV, they're just like, "Go get a headshot. That's cool. You're nice. Cool. So I would like
when the e-girl is watching the broadcast,
Yeah.
bro.
So I'm glad to see that some of that melee hype is is in the TF2.
But that's what I'm trying to create, right? Like,
yeah, that's
what I
what we
felt
want.
lacking in Kritzcraft was hype, or like a Gen Z. Let's just say that someone screaming too much. So like, I wanted
you
to be
need
that guy.
a commentator's job is to bring the hype, in my mind, not to go.
But there's of course a lot of amazing casters. I gotta give that.
Of course,
But it's like,
you gotta bring
we
the
needed
hype.
Gen Z representation. We needed funny references. We needed to reference assassinations of previous presidents. So it's like, it's funny.
Because it's like one time it reminded me in 2016 when like the Overwatch competitive just dropped. I tuned into a Twitch stream and the commentator was like sounded like he wanted to like kill himself. He was like, Winston jumps in
That
onto the
sucks.
plate.
Like, it's just white noise at that point. Like, the commentators need
It's
to
like,
be
it's
on
like
it.
you're fucking watching golf, man.
Yeah, you have a big gorilla guy jumping onto the payload. You like pop off. Like, come on.
Oh, do you know that guy who was like, the Uber is super, and
Lang with a bang,
Lang
vicious
with a-
gaming.
Yeah, we need to bring him
He
back.
shoots, he
You
misses.
need to bring him back. He was great.
No clue where he is now, but we need more energy like that.
Yeah, that's like that. Those are the boys. All right, those are what fucking creates the competitive clips. Right, you need that commentator. You need the energy.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty with that, of course, is that you've always got to have, as commentator, you've always got to have like another level to go to. So if you start off at 90% hype, and some amazing gameplay happens, the only place you can go to is 100. And then
Nah,
some
you go 200 then, man.
gameplay happens, you're fucked. There's
You
nothing
can
else to do.
always pop off more.
Yeah,
You can always
you're
pop off
breaking
more.
windows
can
with
al-
your hype scream at the moment.
You can break the limits.
Push
set new
yourself.
ones. Push yourself.
Indeed.
I want to thank you two for coming on, and thank you Aggro for showing up a second time. This is a really good episode. We've not had the competitive community on our show.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do
at all.
competitive episodes. This is a good
Yeah,
one.
this is really interesting. I've learned new things, and maybe I will go to TF Center again.
I think because the thing is, my prediction with TF2. This is my prediction. Like, you'd have to believe me or not. It's just my wise Miyagi thing. I don't think there will be maybe a major TF2 update. The only thing I can see TF2 happening in the future, and this could be like a decade, like one day Valve decides they maybe want to make a new game. Team Fortress new game, Source 2 free.
Team Fortress.
Maybe in the farthest future. I don't think anytime soon. But
Team Fortress Origins.
if they like this one, they just like pick a random one of their IPs to make a
End
new
of
game
the
out.
line.
All right, so you know that there's going to be an update coming around about summertime, don't you?
Is it a summer
Question.
update or is it like an actual?
Yeah,
No. There's
holiday-sized update.
There's
For the
So new
64
version of
bit.
Team Fortress 2, new version of
there's
Team
that.
Fortress 2 64-bit is coming out around about summertime.
It's not like a
Um,
big thing.
and
it's
so
like,
with that update, a whole bunch of possibilities are kind of opening up with it. Theoretically, oh no, I can't say anything. I don't know. No, I'm not going to say anything. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a significant update happening around about the same sort of period as that. So
That's
yeah,
right. They're adding Winston.
I think your far distant future update thing that's going to happen will definitely happen, and a lot sooner than you imagined. But in terms of there ever being a Team Fortress 3, well, apart from the number 3 never happening in the world of Valve, I genuinely believe that if we are ever going to see competitive or anything significant coming out of Team Fortress in the future, it needs to be with a new version of Team Fortress.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like, if there's any
But
hope for a competitive, was it world in the official,
yeah.
it would have to be like.
But I think,
from...
but I think that what they will almost certainly do with it is what they did with Counter-Strike, where they'll launch a new version, but carry over all of the existing hats and weapons
Yeah.
and
I'd imagine
skins
they'd do
and
that, yeah.
taunts.
That's a pretty clever
Otherwise-
thing, though.
Yeah, because there's an entire economy associated with Team Fortress 2 that they can't afford to let fail. Food for thought.
They can afford. Let's be honest.
I think
They
if
can
there's
let
a,
the
the
game
only-
fail.
Sorry, they can't. They actually can't let Team Fortress 2 economy fail, because if they let Team Fortress 2 economy fail, they are signaling out there that they will let all of their economies fail, and at that point, Dota and CS economies will fail with it.
huge market crash.
Then I could get cheaper skins.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. I just say like,
Hell no.
hell no, hell yes,
Right.
hell yes.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
I was just gonna say, last thing, the only world I can see where like the TF2 like competitive mode is actually running and have players, if they like rebuild TF2 in Source 2 or something, make TF3 huge update, millions of people are playing, and they just rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. But you know, that's a dream world. That's a dream La La Land I'm just coming up with. But it's the only way I can imagine it happening.
Maybe then Kritzcast will have a podcast.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that podcast I used to watch. I don't remember what it was called. Could maybe come back.
Well, you
used
mean
to
the
be good.
actual best Team Fortress podcast?
The only one.
Maybe when it existed.
The official, unofficial Team Fortress 2 podcast.
Team Fortress.
Oh, let's cut the stream, man. I'm tired.
Sam,
Check out my Twitter at Reflex. Check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/xreflex. Check out Kritzcast. You'll see me there live with
at
a lot of other people.
KRITZKST. It's all the places: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. If you want
Check
to
me
get
out on
10% off-
MySpace.
Yeah, if you want to get 10% off your gamer subs order, use the
No,
discount
no,
code.
no,
Don't you put your stock to the lobby.
no.
Hey,
Hell no.
Hey, what do you mean no? It's
You
the
make us
best.
for 2 hours. Let the man advertise his sponsor.
And
Okay, man?
hell no, unless I'm
Sure.
getting a cut.
I mean, I'll cut you if that's what you want, but nonetheless.
There will be no booby cup shilling on my podcast.
Yeah, all right. Follow Kritzcast to know what sponsor he's talking about. Follow Reflex on Twitter at Reflex.
Yeah, you
If you
said
like
that,
music.
mate.
I didn't hear what you said.
It has been a pleasure once again being a guest on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We much appreciate it.
Sam, don't
No
you want
problem.
to? I think it's time you wrap up the episode.
For the first time, come on.
Okay, boys and girls.
Oh, there he is.
That's
that
the
got weird.
end of the Team Fortress 2 podcast known as Switchcast. We
Forever.
wish you all a good evening, a good morning, and a good night.